Oh, Metro 2033, I freaking love you. You may have figured that out already if you watched my stream of it about a month ago, which is oddly enough the first live stream I really tried doing. I chose this game for a reason. Out of all the somewhat modern FPS games I've played, this one sticks with me every time as just a fantastic game with an amazing world to romp in. I had originally planned on reviewing this game last year around this time, but for reasons I can't remember anymore, which probably amount to mostly laziness / writer's block, I never pumped it out. I had planned on playing this and Stalker, and although I have all the footage, I just never wrote the reviews. Stalker may or may not come out this month, but Metro 2033 just can't wait. Metro 2033 is extremely heavy on the storyline, more so than many other games of its type. You play as a young man named Artyom, who starts out on an expedition to a tower. You'll soon realize that this was the current time, and the game will rewind and explain everything up to this point, which takes the place of about 80% of your playthrough. Artyom starts out in his room, and then is summoned as another man named Hunter has arrived. You head out through the Metro system to meet him. He announces that there are some evil demons that have overrun a few outposts and they were headed your way. Your goal is to find some way of stopping them, which eventually you'll find a missile array that can be remotely targeted with a laser system. Your goal is to find a way of making it functional. I don't want to spoil more than this, because the game is incredibly engrossing to play. It feels like it's half story, half action. The game may be linear, but there's enough to explore. Most of the game also takes place in the metro tunnels, as the war turned the entire above-ground landscape into a severely radiated zone. You'll soon find that you can't go outside without a gas mask, and if it breaks or you run out of fresh canisters, you'll suffocate quickly. You might think that doing nothing but running around in an abandoned subway tunnel will get old, but it really doesn't. The game is incredibly atmospheric. Shadows will hide the lurking creatures that will try to gouge your eyes out. Ammo is kept in stockpiles that dead travelers try to hide from themselves and friends. Money is non-existent, but purchases can be made by using special military-grade rounds. Or you can load those in your weapon and seriously increase your firepower. All this kind of stuff really lends to the believable world. So let's talk about the gameplay. Metro 2033 is a linear shooter, where you have to traverse from the start of the level to the exit. There are some levels that you won't have you firing a single bullet, and others are non-stop action. There are some areas that can be traversed using stealth, as you can be careful not to walk over alarms or broken glass to avoid attracting the attention of the hostile bandits. Again, there is some exploring that you can do in some areas to reward you with ammo, health packs, gas mask canisters, or bullet currency, but this is never required to progress in the game. There are very few areas that allow for branching paths, but the option does come up every once in a while. Although it may play out in linear fashion, the game does have some unique features that help the game stand out among its brethren, one of which is your gas mask. Whenever you're outside of the metro tunnels, and sometimes when inside them, you'll need to put it on. This is when you need to put on a little hustle in your step, because the clean air won't last forever. You will need to hit a key to replace the canister, in which Artyom will hold his breath, swap the canister, and breathe again. You can tell when it needs to be swapped in a few ways. You will notice that you have a watch on, and you can see a small timer on it when necessary. Once it gets into the red area, you'll know it's almost time. You can also judge it by the frost that will eventually appear on the outside perimeter of the mask. Of course, Artyom's breathing is also a nice indication. Air isn't the only thing you need to worry about. You also need to keep an eye on the physical condition of the mask. If you start taking too much damage, you might start seeing cracks across the mask. One little scratch won't be too alarming, but when you see it start spiderwebbing, that's when it's time to start looking for a replacement. If your mask is destroyed and you can't find another one quickly, you will die. Another interesting thing with Metro 2033 are the weapons you'll find. Yeah, you'll find a few variants of the AK-47, but it'll take a while before you get around to that. The first gun you'll probably get, in addition to the starting pistol, is a weapon called a Bastard. It's got a really neat design, and just really enjoyed this weapon. There is a bullpup style weapon that sort of reminds me of a P90. I can't really show them because I never really used them, but there are also pneumatically charged weapons, most of which using steel BBs as their ammo. You need to manually charge the pressure of these weapons in order to increase their damage. I've used them in the hardcore ranger mode in the previous playthrough, simply because it was the only ammo I really had left, since in this mode, unless you buy ammo, each enemy will give you precisely one bullet. Challenging, but still completable. But back to weapons. You will also find some shotguns. You start with a double-barreled one, but then find an auto-fed one that is interesting in design and may take some getting used to on how it reloads and fires. There's also a drum-fed shotgun that works amazingly, but will eat through your ammo quickly. Finally, there are silenced variants of some of the pistols and rifles, although stealth is never really a requirement. I mentioned pneumatically powered weapons, and there's also a flashlight that you need to manually power up. Otherwise, the light projects will be minimal, and in a game as dark as Metro 2033, you're gonna want that light. That's where the real fun lies with Metro 2033. The world. It's always fun to keep playing to see what is going to happen next. Everything starts off innocently enough, where Artyom needs to defend the gate to his home Metro from creatures known as Nosalists. But eventually, you're going to find more creatures that want some food, including the creepy flying demons and the powerful bullet sponges known as librarians. Eventually, you'll find the standard bandits and even a few Nazis that you need to shoot at. I do tend to enjoy the firefights in the dark metro tunnels or the hazardous frozen landscapes. Attempting to outsmart the AI always gets me a bit giddy as I play. That's not to say shooting mutants isn't fun. It's just that many of them absorb way too many shots before falling to make it fun. In fact, in areas where I have a small party, I'd let them shoot the monsters as I conserve my ammunition. I'll just duck around with my knife and whack away. Granted, if I take too much damage doing this, I run around, as I normally forget that in addition to the slowly regenerating health, you do get health kits. But the best part of the game is when your hazards come into supernatural. Early on, you realize that there's just something evil that's stalking you. Many of the friends that you meet may perish on the way, to various ways, and not necessarily to something that you can see. Phantom trains can drive right by you. Shadows will glare at you and threaten death, and various anomalies will present other dangers. It's not something I want to harp on too much, as you seriously need to play the game to understand the threat. Plus, that's much of the fun with the game. Truthfully, the only poor point in the game is one of the final levels where you're battling large slime balls. They will keep spawning from these gross-looking pods, and these take multiple shots to destroy. If you haven't stocked up on ammo, you're going to have a tough time here, as your cohort can die, and if that happens, the game is over. The other catch to the game that is kind of dumb is the final part where you're running away from something. Again, I don't want to harp on this section too much, as you're just running around hopping to twisting platforms, but it just feels out of place. I think that's all I got from Metro 2033. It's a must-play game for any fan of the genre, as the story, the lore, the enemies, and the gunplay all mold together to make a fantastic game. I tend to keep coming back to this game every year to play it, because it's just fantastic. Supposedly there's multiple endings based on areas that you might get to or other small feats you may perform, but I think I've only ever really seen the one ending. But I don't care. The game is still a blast to play, and I can say that it's one of my personal favorite FPS games. I'm ashamed to say that I haven't played Last Light yet, but it's on my to-do list. Maybe since I have a 3-day weekend, I'll have to check it out. I've been in the mood to play a new shooter. Maybe we got a winner. Final score? 10 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.